I think we should salute Tom Wolf because, boy, you miss him when he's not here. I want to welcome everybody to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. I am your very thankful president, Karen Keith. Thankful for the opportunity to serve this year. Thankful for my leadership team, my coworkers, and my family, and thankful to all of you for your support. On this day before Thanksgiving, our song and pledge by John Delavadova, and visitor introductions by Bob Rorschach. And now our invocation will be given by Elaine Moore-Jones.
Please bow with me in prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Hello, everybody. I thought in lieu of God Bless America, we'd sing a Thanksgiving song today. It was written in 1844 by Lydia Child. If we can have the words on the screens, we'll let go with Over the River and Through the Woods. Are you with me? Yes. Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse goes away to carry his sleigh wide through the snow. Over the river and through the woods, so how the wind does blow. It stings the toes and bites the nose as over the ground we go. Over the river and through the woods to have the first great play. Hear the bells ring. Ting-a-ling-ling, hooray for Thanksgiving Day. Over the river and through the woods, drop past my apple gray. Spring over the ground like a honey hound, for tomorrow is Thanksgiving Day. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Club 2500, District 6110, 13 months and 1 week until our centennial year. All right. Well, in accordance with our time-honored custom, I will introduce our guests and their host Rotarians. Please stand briefly when your name is called, and we will greet you appropriately when all have been introduced. Linda Bradshaw has with her Phil Albert, who is the CEO of Pelco Construction and a recent governor's appointee to the Will Rogers Memorial Commission. Bill Handy has with him David Wagner, who is with Schnacky Turnbow. And Bill Norman has Marlene Libaday. Tim Colwell has Charles Himbry. We have a number of guests of our speaker today. Marlo Hurtado of Clean Line Energy, Philip Teal with the OK Outreach. He is the manager of the OK Outreach. And Lisa Smaligo, Clean Line Energy lobbyist. Let us give these our usual Rotary greeting. And we have one visiting Rotarian from Sunrise, Tom Clark. Hi, Tom. We are honored by your attendance. Please come back when it's convenient.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. By the way, Lisa's also the wife of my coworker, John Smalago, fellow county commissioner, and he couldn't be here today, so. Our Rotary sponsors this week, Kevin Moody, Moody's Jewelry, John O'Connor, Daniel Ketchum, Tom Clendett, and Dan Morgan of Newton Connor, Turner, and Ketchum, Mike O'Brien, the Creek County Landfill, Harvey Rowe, Ameritrust, and of course, we encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. So please let's thank all of our sponsors and our volunteers today. And we've got one community committee meeting, and that's Shop with a Cop, room 232. On December 4th, we will elect one of 3 director-at-large candidates by ballot. To read more about Kathy Gorell, Tony Oliva, and Steve Perkins, go to the club website. And if you won't be here on the 4th, see the Rotary staff for an absentee ballot after the meeting, and you can cast your vote today. Now, in case you missed it in the Monday Morning Minute, the board approved distributing dues invoices electronically to save time and money. So please watch your email inbox next week. You're going to be so excited to get that invoice. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's contributed to the Rotary Foundation First Class Challenge campaign. Now, I think these are some of the photos when I got this pen that I'm wearing, because I had to prove to some people that he really did give it to me. That is Ron Burton giving me his pen. So going into last week's meeting, we were at 50% participation, and afterwards we jumped to 62%, but right now we are at 64.7%. So if you have a red dot on your name badge, would you please stand and give yourself a hand? Now, Tom, you're looking, if you have contributed and you don't have your red dot, please let the staff know. I saw that. So now, if you don't happen to have a red dot, this is Thanksgiving, and we will be so thankful to any contribution that you make to help us get to that 100%. So really want to make that happen so we can be the first large club in the world to make their goal of 100% to first class. All right, we have another new member to present today. So Don Walker, please come to the podium to introduce our newest member, Andrew Coffey. And while Don is making his way up here, I just want to thank John Stava. Let's give him a round of applause. He has been doing all of our new member orientation. Thank you so much for your work.
Okay. Well, this was a surprise. I apologize. Andrew, all I can tell you is Andrew's a great guy. He's an employee at a great bank in Tulsa. Been with us for 2.5 years, and I am thrilled to have Andrew in Rotary. We talked about membership. He said, it's the kind of organization I'd like to be in. I know he lives the 4-way test. Andrew, we're honored to have you. And I will tell this group at a later date all the good things that I know about you. And this is your 4-way test. We'd like you to... Thank you. You guys are going to love Andrew as a member of this club. He's committed to anything that he signs up for, and we'll look forward to having him involved. Thank you.
Hey, Don, that was a great punt. Good job. Speaking of punts, did anybody see that OSU game? Woo! And where is Phil? Oh, well. All right, Brad Anthematin, step on up and tell us about the Salvation Army bell ringer.
Hello. Andrew, we've got a project for you to sign up for. Welcome to the club. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's bell ringing time. You can see there's still a couple of vacant slots available. I would love it if these were filled up at the end of the day today. It would make my life so much easier because it's been a challenge lately with a remodeling project at home and being sick as part of that.
And doing all the stuff that I have you to do at the last minute. There's that.
Okay, and I pulled up on my phone just before I got up here. Okay, Thursday the 5th, high is going to be 52. Partly sunny with maybe a couple of morning showers. Otherwise, after a cloudy start, sun returns. So you got great weather. We've got space. Lastly, if you're signed up on an 11 o'clock shift, please stop and see me before you leave so you can get your official Rotary Club of Tulsa armband so that we can be easily identified. And let's go back out there and take the award once again. How many years have we won the award, by the way?
I don't know, ever since we've been doing it, I would assume.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. So please
We raise more than anybody else does when we do the red kettles. So let's do it again.
Yeah, please don't let me down, let alone President Karen. Thanks.
Thank you, Brad. And Miss Paula Wood, Shop with the Cop. How many people have already signed up as volunteers? It's a hoot. You'll never forget that day. Paula?
Okay, so Andrew, we have another opportunity for you. Shop with the Cop on December the 7th. We're thrilled to have you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we don't have a cop today, but are there any former cops in the audience? Would they please stand? Oh, I see Officer Lucky Lemons right there. Hi.
Yay.
So we're all saved, just so you'll know. Okay, so today, just a reminder, we're shopping with the cop. Here's the badge. If you have not, here it is. There it is. So if you've not signed up, we would love for you to. I think we have plenty of volunteers at this point. And just so you know, we're going to assign all the volunteers a special job. We're going to do that today at our meeting. So when you come on the 7th at 10 o'clock at the Walmart at Admiral and Memorial, we will have a job for you. Okay, so you know what? Why are we doing this? The absolute most perfect person to tell us why we're doing this for our wonderful city of Clinton is our fabulous, wonderful Tanya Davis.
Yay.
Thank you. And Andrew, I have lots of jobs for you at City of Clinton Elementary, and I'm thrilled that you've become a member of Rotary. Hi, it's so good to be here today. All the kids are gone, all the teachers are gone, so I actually got to get out of the building and get away and come. I try to come as often as I can. Shop with a Cop means so much to our children because most of their interaction, unfortunately, with police officers is in a very negative connotation. They're coming to arrest their family members, and bust up the problems within their neighborhoods. So for them to have a positive interaction with a police officer is huge. The biggest problem with Shop with a Cop is the children themselves are all shopping for their families, and they're so excited to do that, they can't come up with things that they want for themselves. I had a police officer tell me last year, he said, I was so touched because he said, I said to this little boy, well, what do you want? And he said, he never would answer my question. He kept saying, I want anything you want to buy for me, just give me the money and I'll give it for my mom because my mom works so hard to take care of us. So they do truly have special feelings in their heart for their parents. They know that their parents give so much for them and do so much for them. So this is a really special opportunity for them to not only have a positive interaction, but to get to do something special for their family. So please come. If you're going to the OSU game, though, you can be excused. Go Pokes!
Woo! Thank you. All right. And now, Miss Janet Rockefeller, I am so thankful for you. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I have my ways. Okay. I got Bill Miller and David Downing the $100 for OSU. I think that there were a few more people that stood up and went, yeah! Okay, $100. But it was a fabulous game.
Wait, was that if we won, we had to pay $100?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I had it.
And Phil said if the other team won, whatever that is, that he would pay just $100 when we had all of this sea of OSU people saying.
Okay, how many of us have to pay up? Because I was trying to flip that around in my head that Phil was going to have to pay for all of ours. Okay, got it. You know who you are. Okay.
Anyway, great game. Thanks so much, David and Bill, for paying me already. Okay, so I got my newspaper yesterday, and Brad and Ed and Karen are all in the front for Salvation Army. So if you're not a bell ringer, I've done it every year I've been here, and it has been, I've just had a really good time. I usually have a good time at whatever I do, but anyway, it was, it was a really good time. Okay, and then we have more people that, like I said, Forrest paper is a Rotary paper. Here's Elaine Dishman's. Hi, hey Forrest. Here's Elaine's picture. And then we have Kathy Taylor's picture in here too. And there are probably more, but anyway. Okay. Okay, we can hit it. My November man, hit it. Yeah, timing is everything. Okay. Elaine was caught because she is now the Senior Vice President of Business Development for Region Bank. I don't see her here, but wow, great. Congratulations. Hey, congratulations on your job. That is really cool. Okay, and then we have, Tim has given us so many tickets, and I just wanted to acknowledge him because he's, about $900 plus has gone towards Rotary projects because of the tickets that Tim has donated. So I just think that's fabulous.
Hey, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, and then we have, John Delavedova got the tickets from Joseph Bias, who got the tickets from Ed, who got the tickets from Tim last week. Did you follow that? Anyway, John was so appreciative that he is paying $150 to Crescendo. And I wish Joseph was here. Yay! And there's a caveat to that story, and I'll tell you in just a second. But this is his son Miles with Jeremy Smith, who is one of the OSU stars. So anyway, they had a great time at the game, and thank you for the $150, John. We really appreciate it. Okay, and then lastly, last week was Joseph's birthday, which is why he got the tickets and why he gave it to. Anyway, you know that story. But I did want to let you know that all contributions to the Crescendo Music Awards, 50 of which for his birthday money he's giving to Crescendo, will be tripled because of the 2 matching grants from the William S. Smith Charitable Trust, Sherman E. Smith Family Charitable Foundation, and from the Bob H. Johnson Family Foundation. So Tim's tickets went a long way, and Joseph's birthday went a long way. So thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Janet. Now, our Rotarian of the day is Scott Philstrup. He joined our club in the heat of July 1980. Scott is president of Consultants Limited. In addition to his dedication and support of the Crescendo Awards and the Arts of Tulsa, he is a Club Foundation Fellow and a Paul Harris Fellow. Please welcome Rotarian of the Day, Scott Philstrup.
Thank you, President Karen. On this sunny day before Thanksgiving, the winds in Oklahoma are mild, but the future of wind energy is bright. Over the last 9 years, there's been tremendous technology improvements, and the efficiency of the turbines are up 80 to 100%. But beyond that, Oklahoma will be relying more and more on clean, sustainable, locally produced energy, thanks to the technology being brought today. Our speaker is one of the foremost experts and seasoned veterans of the industry. He has been involved for over 20 years. Currently is president and also founder of Clean Line Energy of Houston, Texas. And his projects will be discussed today as he expands his business and tells us the bright future. He graduated from Notre Dame and has an MBA from Harvard. And it's a great pleasure to welcome back to Tulsa our speaker today, Michael Skelly.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. And thanks for the opportunity to talk today about what our company is doing in Oklahoma and a little bit about the wind energy industry. So I was thinking, as you guys formed your program, you probably saw on the agenda there's a Skelly guy who's going to talk about energy. And you said, well, I thought those guys were done. And as it turns out, I think the Skelly branch, I come from a different branch of the Skelly family. And as far as I know, the Tulsa Skellys came to the United States from Ireland at some point in the 1800s. And my family, we came over here in the early 1960s, actually on a boat, so I am literally off the boat Irish. But when we got here, all the oil was pretty much spoken for. And so I guess that's why I had to end up in the wind energy industry, because the wind was still available. And but maybe I should hire some land agents at some point, because there's some mineral interests out there that with the Skelly name on them that I could kind of sign up for. But I've been involved in the wind energy industry for about 15 years now, and helped start a company that was called Zilka Renewable, and then we became Horizon Wind, and now known as EDPR, because as our business grew, we found a need to bring in different types of capital along the way. But in any event, some of our first projects were here in Oklahoma, and I first started driving around Oklahoma in the early 2000s, and it's funny, every rancher that you meet has the windiest piece of land in the state. So it was pretty easy to find the wind, but we ended up working a lot down near Lawton, and worked on the Kimball Ranch, and started off there with about a $100 million project in 2003. And over the years, that project has expanded, and our successor companies have invested, getting up in the $700 million in wind projects in that area. And that was really the early 2000s was when the wind industry started to take off in Oklahoma, and we happened to be among the first folks to work here. And it was always a great pleasure, because Oklahoma is a state that really understands energy, and that certainly understands wind. So when we showed up and said, hey, we think we can turn this thing into something useful, people were intrigued and almost relieved, like, okay, wow, we can actually do something with this wind. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the project that we're working on, called Plains and Eastern, and maybe we can just cue up the second slide there. So click it one more time. Okay, it doesn't click. Yeah, there we go. Oh, maybe it does. Okay, maybe oh, here it comes. It's automatic. Wonderful. So we're working on a project called Plains and Eastern, and what's happened in the wind industry over the last decade is our original formula was to work with friendly landowners in areas where you had an intersection of a really good wind resource and transmission with available capacity. And the grid, as y'all might imagine, we build it so that it can do a lot of different things. And over the years, there are a lot of places where you could plug in new wind farms. But over the last decade or so, as we've built more and more projects, and today Oklahoma it's around 13% of your electric power comes from wind, and it'll be at 15% in the next year or so. But in any event, as the industry's grown, what's happened is the grid has basically maxed out. And so what that means is if you want to expand the amount of energy that you're able to take from the wind, you got to build new infrastructure. And so what our company is doing is we are building a very, very long distance transmission line, which will originate in the panhandle of Oklahoma, cross the whole length of the state, drop off some of the power at a converter station or substation in Arkansas, and then deliver the bulk of that energy to the Tennessee Valley Authority system outside Memphis, Tennessee. And this line, it'll be an overhead line. It's actually a different type of technology. We're using direct current technology. Direct current is the best choice of technology if you want to move a very large amount of power a very long distance. And so this is a type of technology that you see, for example, on the West Coast between the Columbia River system and the city of Los Angeles. And so we're putting together this basically electric type pipeline in order to open up opportunities in the panhandle of Oklahoma so that you can build new wind projects. And when we get this project built, and our project will cost on the order of $2 billion, once we're built, then wind developers or future producers of wind will be able to build their projects. Because right now, the issue that wind producers face in the windy parts of the country is they're really victims of the industry's success. You know, we've tapped out all available transmission capacity, so we need some new wires. And if we're able to build this line, then those producers will be able to build their projects. And just to give you a sense of kind of order of magnitude of what we're talking about here, this line will deliver 3,500 megawatts of wind to the TVA system. And it'll run, because of the improvements in technology that were just mentioned, it'll run at, on average, about 60% full. And that will permit it to deliver to TVA on an annual basis the equivalent of 3 Hoover dams. So it's a tremendous amount of electric power, and it'll facilitate the ability to build around 35, probably you'll build a little more wind than transmission capacity, but around 4,000 megawatts of new wind projects, which will represent an investment on the order of $6 or $7 billion in the panhandle of Oklahoma. I'm sure most of y'all have seen the new turbines that have gotten built over the last few years. Each of those is on average 1.5 to 2 megawatts. So another way to think about it is when our project comes online, you'll see another roughly 2,500 turbines like that spread out in the Oklahoma Panhandle. And as you know, from if you spent much time out there, this is really the tip of the iceberg in terms of energy potential. There is so much wind in this part of the country that we're just going to dip our toes into the available supply. And we actually recently conducted an exercise where we did what we call a request for information, asked all these producers to come forward and tell us what they might offer and how much capacity they had. And just in this sort of preliminary sounding out of the market, we got 4 times as much interest in our line as we will actually have capacity. So I think we're already sort of way behind there. But so the trick in this is we're building infrastructure, and infrastructure it's big and it has its impact. So a huge part of our job is to make sure that we're siting this line and we're putting this project together in as careful a fashion as possible. And we've been at it for about 4 years now. We think it'll be another 2.5, 3 years before we're able to start construction. So 7 years it's actually in transmission time. That's actually fairly fast. But what you have to do is you have to talk and consult with almost an unimaginably large number of stakeholders and people. So we spend a lot of time out there, and I'm here with my colleagues Phil and Mario. And Phil, I'm certain, I'm not going to quiz him right now on this, but I'm pretty dang sure that Phil can tell you the names of every county commissioner between Guyman and the Arkansas state line. And that's part of his job, and it's part of our mission as a company, because we got to get out there and talk to folks. We do a lot of community roundtables and a lot of open houses where we kind of roll out the maps, talk to folks about what's going on in their county, and get a lot of input. And what we find is that the more information that we're able to elicit through this dialogue with folks along the way, the better the project will be. We've also found that as we get out and talk about what we're doing, we're able to attract support of leaders in Oklahoma. Governor Fallon is a great champion of what we're trying to do. She's a leader who, when she says all of the above, she really does mean all of the above. And so that's a great source of help for us because, you know, at the end of the day, we're investing our investors' money in this long-term development effort, and to have folks stand up and say that they're supportive of what we're doing is very helpful. Another important dimension of the way we're trying to develop these lines is we work closely with different contractors. We have sort of a lead EPC contractor, but we also do and have done and continue to do supply chain visits all across the states of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee so that we can put together and pre-qualify different vendors who will participate in the design and ultimate construction of the project. One of the here in Oklahoma, one of the marquee agreements is with our friend Phil Albert, who, if you meet Phil for half a second, you will learn that he is in the business of building transmission structures, and he'll tell you all about it, which we think is really exciting. Not everybody finds it as exciting as Phil as us, but we have an arrangement with Phil where he's a preferred provider of the towers that will go into building the transmission line. And on a similar note, we have an arrangement with General Cable over in Malvern, Arkansas, and they're going to supply all of the conductor that goes into our transmission line. So one of the, as we've been working on this project over the last few years, one of the gratifying things that we've seen happen is that electric power customers in our target region, which is in the southeastern United States, have seen fit to say, okay, well, this is a really attractive energy resource, we want to sign up for it. So you may not know this, but Oklahoma is already selling a lot of wind to customers in the southeastern United States. Both Southern Company, which is a big utility in the southeast, and the Tennessee Valley Authority, they're both buying wind, and the way they do that is they move it through the AC grid. Well, that system is almost tapped out in terms of the ability to flow power from this part of the country to the southeast. So it really feels like the time is right for what we're doing. And like a lot of things in life, this is driven by some pretty exciting economics. Today, you can buy if we go back to the map for just a second, in the central part of the country, you can buy as much wind as you could ever want for between 2 and 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour. So that's a very attractive price. And that's come down a lot. A couple of years ago, 5 years ago, that would have been in the 4-cent range. Now, other people, so folks often ask, okay, so how does this, I've heard about this tax incentive and sort of how does that all work and how does that play into the economics of it? And does your business still work if there aren't tax incentives for wind energy? And we basically have one means of support for the wind energy industry at the federal level, and that's called the production tax credit. So if you produce wind, you get a tax credit of 2 cents a kilowatt hour for the first 10 years of production. After that, there's no tax incentive. So if you sort of strip that out of it, wind today is right at 4 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, that compares very favorably with all kinds of new build. It's a little bit more expensive than projects whose investment has been fully amortized, like a nuke or or a coal plant. Those have typically are older and they've been paid off, so their run cost is really low. Our run cost is a little bit higher because we got to pay to amortize the investment. But what utilities around the country find really attractive about wind is we know what it's going to cost today, and we know what it's going to cost in 10 years, and we know exactly what it's going to cost in 20 years. So when you're putting together a portfolio of different energy choices and fuel mixes, a source of energy that has zero fuel risk is a pretty attractive part of the portfolio, and that's why you're seeing customers not only throughout the sort of the wind belt, but to the extent that folks have access to it, folks in the southeast and points east are also buying a lot of wind energy. And so we think the economics of this are very attractive. In addition to that, and this is maybe what gets us up in the morning and excited about what we're doing is, when you build infrastructure, not only do you get a lot of economic development with the infrastructure itself and, working with guys like Phil and seeing real jobs come about, but also the infrastructure itself engenders new economic development, both on the generation side out in the Panhandle and through low-cost, stable-priced power at the delivery point. So that's what Clean Line Energy is up to these days. We're very excited about the opportunity to work on projects like this. And we're also thrilled to be in Oklahoma, which is a state that really does understand energy and the importance in not only in empowering our economy, but being an integral part of the economy itself. So thanks for taking time. I think we're going to take questions, right? But it's great to be a Skelly in Tulsa working on wind energy. So thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so the question is, how do we mitigate with respect to avian impacts? And I'll take that in two places, one on the power line itself, and the other is on the wind turbines, okay? So on the power line itself, our conductors are big enough that they're very visible to birds, and the conductors or the wires are far enough apart that you'll never have a situation where a large bird could connect the two circuits. If you have power lines, when you do have avian impact, it's typically on small distribution lines like that might go out to your house, where a bird that's big enough can find itself in a situation where it connects the two circuits, and that's a problematic situation for the bird. So we don't actually have that issue. We belong to the, Mario, help me out, avian impact. There's actually a trade organization that works on this issue to make sure that you design in a way that your power line doesn't impact birds. With respect to the avian impacts on wind turbines themselves, the trick there, and you may have seen a story last week came out that Fish and Wildlife fined a wind developer for killing birds, basically. And the key thing there is to study the heck out of it before you build your wind project. And in that particular case, those folks just didn't do their homework. But what we do is, and we work pretty closely with a lot of different environmental groups who are generally supportive of what we're doing because they like to see a clean energy source. But for us, the main issue is where do we site our converter station? So the wind farms are going to tie into one end of our line. We turn the electricity from AC to DC and then send it across. And wherever we put that converter station, it's obviously we're going to put it in a windy place, but we want to put it in a windy place where you can develop a lot of wind without a lot of impact. And so that place is in Texas County, which is just south of, and the exact location is south of Guyman. And the reason we're there and not in Beaver County, which is the easternmost county in the Panhandle, is because in Beaver County there's a lot of prairie chickens, and there's a concern that turbines don't actually hurt prairie chickens, but the shadows of them may frighten the prairie chickens, and if they're frightened, then apparently if they're frightened, they don't breed. So we steer clear of that. And the other thing that one does is you do a lot of studies before you ever build a wind project to make sure that you don't have eagles and migratory birds and bats. And bats is is more of an issue in the east, not so much an issue out in western Oklahoma. But we pay a lot of attention to that. We do huge studies. We're in the middle of something called NEPA, which is the National Environmental Permitting Process right now. So we study not only the impact of our line, but the associated impacts of when we build the line, what other development will we induce? So it's a great question and a very important issue that we spend a lot of time on. Yes. The new transmission line you're building, will it be carrying any other sources of power other than wind? Yeah, that's okay. So the question is, will our line carry other sources of power? Yes, it will. I mean, we tie into the AC grid, to the grid out in the Panhandle for voltage support. So, and electrons are, agnostic with respect to where they come from. We will, the great majority of the power will be wind because that's what's out there. It's possible that you might develop a gas plant out there, but it's more likely that the gas plants would get developed closer to load centers because the gas pipes, our losses on a line like this are in the 4 to 5% range. If you move natural gas through a pipe over a similar 700-mile distance, your losses, particularly with new coatings and so on, are like in the 1% range. So it's more efficient to move gas in a pipe than to turn it into electricity and move it on a wire. So mostly, it won't exclusively be wind, but this is basically designed for wind. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you comment a little bit more about the technology you're using on the lines? What are you transforming that up to, just out of curiosity? And
yeah.
Any pushback about magnetic field or anything?
Yeah. So we will be at 600 kilovolts. The largest lines in Oklahoma that you'll see around are in the 345 kilovolt range, so we're higher voltage. There's been endless numbers of studies on the effect of electromagnetic fields, which is, I think, the concern that you're referring to. The electromagnetic fields from a DC power line are actually a little different from an AC line. And outside, and it's basically, ours is more of a magnetic field. It's very similar to the magnetic field of the Earth. So if you're standing on the edge of our right-of-way, you take instruments and so on and measure that field, it's even at the edge of the right-of-way, that close to the line, you have a hard time discerning between the magnetic field of the Earth and the magnetic field of our power line. So and the fields drop off logarithmically. Is that the right answer? Mathematically, they drop off very, very quickly as you move away from the line. So, and there have been a lot of studies with respect to DC power lines and any possible effects, and they've never shown anything at all. If you're interested in this topic, there's lots of, I could talk afterwards, or we have lots of stuff on our website on this topic as well. Yes, sir.
Have you looked at the possibility of trading out transmission capacity between the existing power plants and new sources of electricity to minimize the number of lines?
Yeah. So the question is, have we looked at sort of swapping out existing lines for new lines? I mean, that often happens when you're upgrading the AC system because we're converting, we're doing DC lines. It's actually, and it's higher voltage. That actually wouldn't be possible. We do look at paralleling existing infrastructure, existing transmission lines. One of the reasons, in fact, why a DC power line is a much better alternative over really long distances than AC lines is because of our right-of-way requirements. So in our right-of-way, we can move about 3 times as much power as you could move with a similar structure with an AC power line. And that basically comes down to the physics of the wires themselves, which in DC lines, you're actually using all the wire, and with AC lines, there's sort of a skin effect, and you're not actually, the electrons somehow aren't moving in the middle of the wire. So from an efficiency perspective, for this particular challenge of moving a lot of power long distance, the technology that we're using is really the technology of choice, and that's been borne out in a lot of other places around the world. And those back here, yes? Yeah. 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 The main problem that Germany has as they try to go renewable is they don't have any Oklahoma in them. And the resource just isn't there. It's as if you were trying to, build a bunch of wind in Alabama or somewhere like that. And as if you were doing a bunch of solar in Alaska. I'm actually not kidding. I mean, that's sort of the comparison. And I think one of the exciting things, sometimes, energy gets cast in these partisan terms. And I think if you look at our endowment of energy resources, I mean, we've got like the best natural gas in the world. We've got the best wind in the world. We've got some of the best solar in the world. We've got some of the best coal resources in the world. So we really have an incredible abundance of energy. The Germans have a lot of coal, but that's about it. And so I think there's a competitiveness question there as well. From a competitiveness perspective, we really have a lot of really good low-cost energy sources, both for today and in the future. So I'm actually optimistic about that, and I think that we can do this, and we in fact are doing it on the renewable side in a way that it's much more cost-effective than some of the other things going on. I think there was a question here somewhere that I missed. Yes? Yes, sir? What's the life of a turbine? Great question. So a lot of these turbines are new, so we don't know exactly, but there's a bunch of turbines that were done in the 80s that are still spinning, and their design life is at the 25-year range. But when you design something for 25 years, you may actually be designing it for 50 years and you don't know it. So it's sort of a good analogy is the aircraft industry, where we built all these airplanes that we thought were going to last 20 years, and 40 years later they're still going. So certainly in the 25 plus range. Yes, sir. In terms of footprint in Tulsa, yeah. So Phil is in Oklahoma City, and we work with a few vendors here in Tulsa, but we don't have a physical presence in Tulsa. That was my cousins that had all that. Yes, sir. Yeah, so it's with electric power generation, typically you're going to look for a payback and the straight payback, without a return, in the sort of 8 to 10 year range. So call it 10 years, it ought to be paid back, and then you're going to start, realizing a return on your investment. So another way to think about that is in electric power generation and transmission, broadly speaking, the returns are in the high single, low double-digit range. So it's a fairly pedestrian business in terms of returns, but because these are long-lived assets, investors find them attractive. Yes, sir. Okay, so the question is, what about noise pollution from the wind farms? The key on noise, and I've learned this the hard way, but back in the early days of the wind industry, and the key is to have the right setback distance, and you really need to be about a quarter mile from occupied residences, and once you're a quarter mile away, the noise will have dissipated and you won't hear it. The other issue that you run into is you got to make sure that if you're in this is not so much a situation in the panhandle of Oklahoma because it's, as you all know, it's pretty flat. But if you have a ridge and then a house down in a valley, and you're within a quarter mile, it might be really windy up top and quiet in the valley. And so that quarter mile distance, you might want to open it up a little bit, but typically a quarter mile should take care of all those issues. And there's plenty of room out there to, even with that constraint, you can usually, even like in Illinois, we built very large projects in Illinois with that quarter mile setback, and it wasn't a big challenge. Great, thank you. Thanks very much.
And we have a book that we'll give to Celia Clinton in honor of today, and I need you to sign that for me. And it's called The Great Elephant Escape from the Power Lines. Kidding, just kidding. Next week, Rhonda Noonan, she's going to talk about Fifth and Final Name, and it's her journey to locate her birth family. She discovered that she was related to Winston Churchill. It should be very interesting. And then December 11th, this is something you might want to bring some family members to. Rod Bigelow will be here to talk about the Crystal Bridges Museum and kind of give us a glimpse inside that museum. And how many of you have been there? I mean, it is really something to be proud of for the Midwest. So anyway, I think you'll enjoy that. Now, before we view this week's Mystery Rotarian, I wanted you to get a clearer look at last week's Mystery Rotarian. That was Mike Homan, and we couldn't really see his superhero outfit that he's wearing, but that is Michael without the red. Andrew, thank you again for being here. And gosh, you're already volunteering to do so much. As you leave today, be sure to welcome Michael to our club. And now, Andrew to our club. Thank you very much. And now our Mystery Rotarian for today. Today's Mystery Rotarian, in an effort to prepare for Thanksgiving, got in shape to make sure he could chase down the perfect fowl for the dinner table. He got out his camera and looked far and wide, seeking the best prey. He even fought the seas to bring home the big catch. But that was not what Jamie wanted for Thanksgiving dinner. So looking back, John Howland remembered his hunting days. And with all this experience, he captured the main course for Thanksgiving. Okay, John, what is that? A woodchuck? That's just nasty. And I love those high water drawers. So, with that, safe travels to all and happy Thanksgiving to one and all.